Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the Mindful Leadership Podcast. I really don't want to edit out that pause at the beginning. That was funny. It just adds to it. And welcome to Natasha Rocha. Welcome, Natasha. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, John? I love these. And I love that we still laugh every time we start these as well, which is brilliant. They're becoming a little bit less awkward and just more fun. I love it.
Fabulous. Yeah, follow your joy. I'm great, thank you. And we decided today that we would talk about, um, and by no means constraining the conversation, but talk about our experiences of facing our fears, starting our own businesses. I'm now a few months in, and sharing like what's just some of our like highs and surprises, and some of the challenges, maybe the unexpected things,
Hmm.
and also both the kind of mindful practices that we've found helpful and plus any other kind of spiritual aspects that we think have helped us on our journeys. Um, and I'm sure if people can read, we'll also at some point touch on the I can't even say it, octopus method planner.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your launch of your book, your manual, and thank you for a copy as well. That was kind.
Yeah, absolutely. You were my first dedicated written kind of dedication. So I was very
Yay.
happy to hand that over. I was like, yes, which is brilliant. Yeah, it's been quite an incredible journey from starting out to where I am now, and very, very exciting. We were talking about earlier how excited we get when people do start their businesses, and how we can support them and collaborate. So my first question is for you, John. How are you finding this journey? Because yours is most recent.
Yeah, thank you. I struggle to put it all into words how fabulous it is. Like, woo! It's just like amazing. Well beyond, like well beyond my wildest dreams. And of course, not every month has been like that, but
Mhm.
it's the upward journey is mind blowing to me. And it's so funny. It's almost like all the things I feared, leaving a corporate job, being in the industry for 26 years, starting something almost new. Like I'd just been doing a lot of this as a hobby
Mhm.
before doing meditation and clinical reflexology and energy healing and psychic readings for people, that it was all still quite new to me, like brand new career. And the things you worry about, like, what about the money? Like, what? I'm the main wage earner in my home. How am I going to
Mhm.
support a family of four plus little dog Patch? And it seems incredible or incredulous to think that that's certainly no longer a problem. And in fact, sometimes even some of the conversations that I've been having with my wife are like, well, what do we really want to balance? There's clearly a lot of demand
Mhm.
for the work. So how do we balance things out? Not, oh, we're in such lack, John, you need to go back to a job you hate or somewhere that you're uncomfortable. Um, yeah, it's just beyond my wildest dreams. I feel I have so much I can't speak, so much to say, and struggle literally to put it into words.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, so my time frame, because I'm going to ask you in a moment, Natasha. So my time frame was uh, finished. So I left Amazon of 8 years as a senior manager on the 30th of May. Um, I was a senior software manager doing artificial intelligence and recruitment. And then May 31st, my new company, Heart Centered Wellness Limited, was registered. And that's what I'm talking about, just from then until now. And we're now, in case someone's watching this at some other time frame, we're now on the 4th of December recording this in 2024. So Natasha, how long since you started your business, or you started as like a soul trader?
Cool trader. Yeah, so it's been quite interesting. I've really enjoyed watching your journey from meeting up with you in your camper van just like a few weeks after you did the big leap to where you are now. It's really it's quite incredible and well done you. Very, very inspiring to see you doing that jump. And the inspirational part is you let go of all the limitations. You were just like, I'm doing this. I'm like, I'm bungee jumping. I'm doing this. Where I was a very much more cautious. So for me, I ended up I hit a space where I think it was burnout. Like it got to a stage where I knew that I needed to do my internal healing. And I remember I said to my husband at the time, if I don't do something to look at my health, like I can already foresee something grander coming because I'd been ignoring the signs. And so I went through a big healing, and I'm so grateful to him that he allowed for that portion to allow for me to go in and do that healing. And I did leave a corporate job, started doing the healing, and then it was like, okay, what am I going to do next? And I was like, go back into the corporate world. And every time I did that, my stomach just went, "Mm." And I was like, oh, I need to get through this, you know? Um, and I applied for a whole bunch of jobs, and I applied for it was so interesting. One, I could have actually, it was exactly what I was doing before. It was everything went through like the whole process, and then just last minute, it just didn't make any sense. I didn't get it. And I was like, this is so
Oh wow.
bizarre. What is going on here? I was like, it's okay, I'll keep doing this. And in the meanwhile, I'd met this lady who was an astrologer, and at the time, I was doing craniosacral therapy as I'd started learning and expanding. And she said, you need to do this for people. And I was like, what? I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to have to come out of the spiritual closet, and people are going to have to, like, they're going to know my secret that I'm all woo woo and I have all these like belief systems and all the rest of this. And she's like, yeah, I see you doing. And she goes, and I see you teaching. And I was like, no, I can't stand. No, I'm not doing that. And quite funny, a few years later, I did ended up doing the big jump, and just move through all those limitations that we have. So it was it's still quite a healing journey that I've been through. But yeah, I absolutely love my life right now. And I've just moved countries again. So I've just moved back from Canada to here, and I've had to restart my business as well. And I closed it down in Canada. So it's a big rebirthing process for me. And it's quite interesting how we take a lot of the processes and the limitations from that consciousness into this new one. So for
Yeah.
example,
Oh yeah.
when I first started my business, I mean, we come from IT background, right? So I was like,
Mhm.
right, what am I going to call it? I'm going to market this thing, and I was going to call it. And then I realized, so I was like, sit down and I was like, okay, I'm going to call it SEMP Synergy. And I was like, it was an acronym: spiritual, emotional, mental, physical synergy, because we are trying to bring that all together. And I was like, that makes no sense to anybody months later. I was like, but it has to be as an acronym. Everybody will understand it, kind of a thing. And then
Yeah.
I went through quite a lot of these kind of processes of, okay, I even had two Facebook accounts at a time because I was like, what are people going to think? That fear of judgment. And you know
Mhm.
what? I was like, just jump off the cliff. So in my personal one, I put, hey, this is me. This is what I'm doing. And I'm starting this business. And you'll be so surprised because I had so many people that hadn't spoken about spirituality come to me and say, oh, I know somebody and I want to come and see you and I want to support you. And I have a few referrals that I still have today. So it's been absolutely an incredible journey, and I'm absolutely loving at the moment the flexibility of my schedule, and I'm loving my clients at the moment. And I think it's because of it as being a service business, they're usually a reflection of us, and I've learned so much.
Mhm.
And it's about adapting to what is needed. And I found that quite fascinating as well.
Amazing. And for context, when did you start your business in Canada, and when did you move to Scotland?
So I started my business just before COVID,
Okay.
in 2018. And then I moved to Scotland 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, it's been quite, yeah, and I've been teaching, and I've created an academy online because I'm like, I need to learn, like, I mean, to share that knowledge,
Yeah.
which I found important. And yeah, in the octopus method was also birthed from that in that
Mhm.
space of teaching. So it's really following that journey to that of your excitement. And I remember teaching, and my now business partner Kellyanne Vass, she was a student learning Akashic records, and her and I have got quite similar scenarios. married
Mm.
to children. Our children are the same ages. And she said, would you run an Akashic mastermind? And I was like, yes, came out of my mind. And I was like, what? I don't even know. How did I say yes to that? I don't even know what that looks like. I'm jumping
Sounds
into
great.
that. Yeah, that sounds great. And then I was like sitting there with my guides going, I don't know what this looks like. And I put it off and I put it off and I procrastinated because I didn't have that clear vision of what
Mm.
that looked like. And at that time, I had booked onto this course that was all about, it was called Soul Path. It's finding out what is your soul path based on your archetype and all the rest of that. And it was actually a South African lady that was running it in Canada. And just as a bonus, she had placed the Feng Shui Bagua map on the table and she was going to just talk about it. Now, I had been sitting with the question, one, I need to run a mastermind in the back of my mind. And the second one is what had been coming through in the Akashic records at the time is that we're always on purpose.
Mhm.
And whatever we experience is it's the stepping stone to the next place. And I was like, I have 17 years of marketing experience in corporate. Now I'm doing the spiritual Akashic records. Like, how do I merge the two? How do I bring these two worlds together?
Yeah.
And when this Feng Shui Bagua map fell on my lap, I was like, oh my goodness, like why don't I feng shui people's lives and their businesses, not in a physical sense of allowing the energy to flow, but from a physical, mental, emotional perspective? How do we get the energy to flow? And this is how I can merge because I had already been doing blueprints of businesses. And I
Yeah.
used the blueprint to direct my business, opening up the records of Raising the Vibes, which is now. And it was quite incredible. And that actually birthed the framework of running Kelly through the mastermind. And within the third, she's an amazing coach. And I think it was in the third section, like the I am creative aspect of the backbone map, we came together and we were like, okay, this is a program that we need to run together. And it's
Mm.
amazing that synchronicity that has come in because now we run a mastermind and we've just published the planner together. But it's like that trusting in one thing leads to another and just sitting in that space of receiving. And yeah, and it's all about feng shuiing your business, really, and your life. That was the foundation for that. And so it's been an incredible journey through full of synchronicities and sometimes not knowing the end result,
Yeah.
just going ahead and following that joy.
You mean you sometimes know the end result? Um, it's so funny, like this and this, this magical
Mhm.
journey that you've been on and continue on. Imagine explaining this to your boss, right? They'd be like, they come into the office, "Hey, morning, John. Hi," and they'd be like, "What are you working on, John?" Don't know actually. I feel really happy though. I really like this job. Did I tell you that? And they'd say, "Oh, what's your plan for today?" Well, I'm going to look at the things that I thought about before, and then I'm going to do some meditation and maybe take my dog for a walk, and then I'll reflect on, I don't know, what comes in. And your boss will be like, "You're gonna what?" And what about the report thing that I want you to do? And you'll be like, "Well, actually, I was having a chat with someone. I'm thinking about this thing, but I think I'll just do it." And you don't ask anyone. You don't just go
Yeah.
and you don't create a plan, right? And go, "Oh, here's the dates. Here's the people I need. Here's all." No, you just go, "I think this feels good. It feels quite
Mm,
joyous. Um, it'll it'll create itself as I work
yeah.
with it each day." Um, that is still shocking to me. You mentioned something really key earlier, which was there's still some patterns that we take forwards
Hmm.
into this new life. Just yesterday, my daughter's home from university,
Okay.
and this is like a reoccurring pattern that we had when we would go for lunchtime walks together when I was working at home in my corporate job.
Uh-huh.
So she's back now, and she said, "How long do you have at lunch?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't, I hadn't really thought about that." um, Probably about a couple of hours, 3 hours till my next client session. And she said,
Mm,
"Oh, that's ages. Let's go for a drive and a walk in nearby woods." And I said, "Yeah, I just need to get back actually just before that session and write my weekly report." And she's like, "What?" I said, "Oh, I mean my weekly customer newsletter. If it feels right to send it this week.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think that's better. But she says, like, listen to you. Do you realize you're still carrying like this all these patterns?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's true. Like I still find myself walking a little, sometimes a little bit lost early morning, like after my
Hmm.
very long morning routine. I'm out walking the dog at the same time other people are going to the train and stuff. And it's like part of my subconscious, is like, be like the other humans, like, follow, like, observe
Hmm.
be aware of their patterns. And actually, my patterns don't need to. There's nothing to constrain them. Um,
Hmm.
in fact, right now I'm sat in my camper van in my driveway because my house is just being finished renovating, and it's like, literally no one cares, other than how I feel about it, and I feel warm and cozy, and that's a great start. Um, I was interested in, this is probably two questions for you, Natasha. One is, what are the fears? Show my finger. What are the fears that you had, that you thought you had before you started your own business, and then like now that you've been doing it for a few years, in hindsight, what were those fears really? And by that I
Mm.
mean that certainly my experience has been like I munged together all the fears into one, and actually there were many all kind of tangled up together that I needed to unpick after I took the leap. I was interested if you'd experienced that when you first set up your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I did. One was, what will people think? It's something totally different. It was, what
Yeah.
is the judgment within that? So I was still very much attached to what will people think. And my ex-husband at the time said something profound. He said, because I said to him, uh, once our friends know, like, we might lose friends because it might just not be in their belief system or whatever it may be, And he said,
Mm.
well, are there really friends worth having? And I was like, that was one of the most profound things. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to him for saying that, because it really gave me that courage to kind of like step into this aspect of myself a little bit more.
Mm.
And don't forget, I've always had a fear of this ever since I was little. It was just something that happened at home, but we didn't talk to other people about it. So it
Yeah.
was very much that kind of like built in there. So that was that fear of losing friends, losing credibility, which is why I ended up like, no, I'll create a Facebook page just for this, kind of a thing. So
Other
nobody knows.
Natasha.
Other Natasha, right? My other me. So there was that fear. And then the other fear was, because, well, there's a few. One, because of what we do, I was like, have I lost my mind completely?
Mm.
The amount of things that we've seen, or that has, we get privy to. I was just like, have I lost it? And do I need to commit myself? Um, so that was the fear, but then more healing, the more acceptance, that carried on, moving through that. And then absolutely the financial aspect, because we were two incomes coming into the home that were fairly equal. So for me, it was putting that weight onto my husband. So it was
Mm.
just kind of like, and there's that. I need to bring this in now. I need to, what is the return on investment? How am I going to do this? Like, where are my clients? And all the, so it's creating those clients, but yet being afraid to ask for that because we're not really confident in what it is that we're doing, or at least being out of the spiritual closet and going, hey, this is me. Like you were talking about, like you've mentioned a few times, and, saying, falling into that, yes, I am psychic, kind of a thing. And yes, we can do this. So
Yeah.
those were a few of my fears, was the 3D kind of like, what are people going to think, the judgment and the financial aspect to it. Because the other thing is, there is also a belief system that this is a gift. Why are we charging for that?
Yeah.
Is the other thing that came through. How did you find that? What was yours that you had all wrapped into one that you needed to kind of like deconstruct or unpack?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your journey. Yeah, I thought so. In hindsight, we have many similar themes of fears, but that's not how I felt for about the year before I left. So just just coming up for a year ago, I had just completed a mindfulness meditation teaching training, and I just started clinical reflexology training, and these were like things to get me. My wife was encouraging me, like, you got to get out with in front of people, like, don't just hide in
Hmm.
your music studio and do your client sessions online all the time. um And it's like, yeah, I think I need people. I think I need to be around people at least sometimes.
Mhm.
And I felt that first when before I did the meditation teacher training, I'd never met people that really do this work. I'd met you, but I don't think at that
Mhm.
time we weren't
Yeah.
uh talking that much. And I remember wondering whether there's a career in this. And I
Mm.
only knew one person that was making a living um as well as you. I think that was it in the whole world. And it's like, uh I don't know. Maybe I could. And so I just obsessed about the money, and I kept feeling like all I would need to do is figure out how to make money, and then I would be happy in my, my new career in my new work, or at very least I could convince my wife, my family that we can still live and that we have a roof over our heads and we can eat and maybe there'll be some other nice things as well. Um, and so that was like a real focus, and it I'm so glad that the way things lined up that fear was there's a very, very bright light shone in it in my life. Like it's almost like the universe conspired to support me in
Mhm.
seeing that fear for what it really was. Because when I left, and I remember vividly, I was doing like, I do a lot of vlogs and like walking with my dog
Mhm.
Patch, and I was doing one every day for at least the first 7 days after I left. And the first, like, I remember in 3 days after leaving, I was like, "It's John," like walking down the street with my phone. "It's John. Please send food. It's day three after leaving my job," and it was like, it was so funny at the time, and yet it was like this conscious like fear
Mhm.
that suddenly everything would collapse in my life. Um, but what I started to then see was that if I had been given tons of money in my new career immediately, like the first day after starting my
Mhm.
business, I would have missed out on not only a breadth of really joyous explorations into different services, selling hoodies, writing
Mhm.
songs, um, doing training and different services and in-person stuff and reflexology and meditation, just tons of different things and trying them and feeling into
Mhm.
the joy of each one. What that journey on on Earth was much more similar to you. Like I started to see that, oh, the reason it's good for me to get out in front of that I feel driven to be out in front of people is because there's still healing for me to do. I need to
Mhm.
come out of my psychic closet. I need
Yep.
to face people and say, this is like someone came to me on Sunday and said, "Are you John the psychic?" And I was like, "Yes,
That's me.
that's me." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cool." I wasn't wearing this at the time, but and that's also part of my healing journey, right?
Mm.
It's my name. Like uh
Yeah.
I can't hide. Just 1 second. Okay, small interruption and we're back. So
Great.
and largely the same train of thought. But yeah, I realized that this part of me that this fear I had was being seen. And I feel like when you're running your own business, it's not like you're being seen to just, I don't know, like there's an office called Jon Binnie Incorporated, and there's a guy
Mhm.
sat there, and like when people go in, they go, "Oh yeah, I'm John. Hi." It's much more like, "Oh, I'm presenting myself to the world as
Mhm.
this person, who founded their own little business." And so you're everyone that you meet, everything you market, you are your business. And so
Mhm.
if you constrain that in any way, you're saying, like, people would often ask me, "Well, how psychic are you?" And I'd say, I, I'm all the psychic. Like,
I love that.
like, where's the limitations? Like, you tell
You'd
me.
be like on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's right. Yeah, no, yeah. That's right. Well, I don't do, don't talk to dead people. It's like, no, I do. I
Yeah,
don't
I do,
talk to
yeah.
aliens. Oh, no, I do.
Yeah, I
And it's
do.
like, and so on. Um, and the other fear I had that unearthed itself was the the main thing that was holding me in my corporate job for, I was 2 years part-time before I left it because you were saying, Natasha, oh, you just took the leap. And I was like, parts of me were like, come on, you can do it, John. And other parts of me were like, I'm terrified. What do I do? And it was the fear I had, and this was a physical fear, like my body was
Mm,
scared as well, was that I would just burn myself out. Like I would just run so fast because you can see I'm like,
hmm.
productive and hyper productive. And it's
Yeah.
like when when you start your own business, like you can't just say, there's no one else really watching you other than your friends and family at a personal day-to-day level. And health-wise, you need to really look after yourself
Hmm.
because also the 3D programming that this, especially in our Western cultures, and I'd also argue that local government and government like support is almost nothing, and actually it's quite counter to starting your own business, because the
Hmm.
questions you get is like, oh, so will you make money doing that? And oh, well, how will you survive? And oh, it must be so hard for you. You're gonna have to work so many hours in those first few years. And I had a friend, and they didn't succeed. I feel sorry
Oh my
for you.
goodness.
And you're like, wow, I feel so supported. Um, and so when you're some of that's
Mhm.
already in you, and then other people are telling it to you, and you're like, you have to be ready. I realized quite quickly I had to be ready to, at very least, see it in me. And then secondly, when people confronted me with it literally and say, well, you know, how's your life? Are you going to sell your house? You're going to stop going on holiday? Like what are you going to sacrifice for
Mm.
this? And I had to have answers, and quick answers that I didn't feel so difficult, uncomfortable. And even if the answer is just like, well, I love it. And
Hmm.
in my life, whenever I love something, I just always really excel at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like the world's best thought out answer. It just needs to feel right for you. And yet that started to really guide me. Um, and the logic of leaving, like especially the financial logic of leaving
Hmm.
like multi six-figure salary job to maybe nothing. Like I
Yeah.
think as a hobby, I'd earned a lot less than £1,000 doing the work in the first couple of years, but I knew I loved it. So you kind of like, that's the big gap. And then,
Absolutely.
and I just felt there was no reason to like create a plan because the plan would lightly restrict me. If I
Hmm.
created like a traditional plan, the plan would be, month one, do this thing, launch this course, do this service, try this thing, advertise here. But I didn't know those things. I'd only just started. How
Hmm.
would I know what my business would expand to become and where I'd excel until I tried these different things? Just like you remember when you were a kid and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing today, but it just seems so fun just even thinking about all the different things I could do.
Mm.
And when I try something, it'll like have a kind of a threshold of joy, like a little graph of joy. And then when it starts to, I wonder if there's more joy I could have somewhere else. I'll just go and do that other thing that seems more joyous. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if I'm right or wrong, I'm just going to do it. And then I'll find out
Hmm.
if it was more joyous or not. And that's how my life feels much more like now. It's like following that joy. And joy is, those times that you feel like we were talking about burnout. And I was
Hmm.
so burnt out, and I was just on the edge of being long-term sick, and I realized that there was almost no joy. Like I was killing my joy. It was like
Yeah.
squeezing it down to every minute of the day, even the music I was doing, making it small and small amounts of time every day. And the reality is, joy like has this own like fuel all by itself, right? It is this very
Yeah.
high vibration emotion that just it like you can be aware of a fear that's in you. But when you feel joyous, it's almost like the fear's like down here somewhere, and you're like, I can see you. I appreciate the part of you's a bit scared, John, but it's so much fun. Like this is so much fun, and it's okay to be scared sometimes. But remember, it's so much fun, and that joy is, I think, also, it bleeds out and resonates out to
Mm.
your customers, right? Everything you touch has that golden touch of joy in it. And so everything you start creating, if you're really following your joy, looks after itself.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, no, I
uh,
appreciate that. I agree with that. And I love I love that you follow like it's so funny because actually I'm gonna share this story. So I remember I asked you if you'd recommend an accountant for me.
yeah.
And I met with your accountant and the bookkeeper, and it was on a Monday. And I was like, "Oh, good morning! I'm so excited! Isn't it like I hope you've had a great start to the week?" And she's like, "Oh my God!" Like I could feel that. Like, why are you excited? And I was like, "Oh, I love what I do. I love Mondays. It just means that I get to keep doing what I'm doing because not that I don't do stuff on the weekend." She goes, "You know what? Jon is the only other person that I know that is this excited on a Monday." And I was like, "I think it's because of what we do. We do what we love." you know. So it was incredible to connect in with her. And yeah, it's yeah, I took a little bit longer than you did in that process. So I very much structured this. This is how many courses I need to do. This is how many, like, this is what I need to do. And then it's like advertise that. And then I was finding myself in those patterns of, okay, I'm spinning my wheels. I'm being busy for being busy's sake,
Yeah.
because I think it's going to equate to X, Y, and Z. So it's like I found myself very much at the beginning until going, okay, here I am again. I'm tired and I'm busy and I'm
Yeah.
not spending time. And it's like, so it's trying to find that balance in that. Um, and I don't like I find balance in different ways, kind of like how you said with your daughter, and kind of like how much time have you got for lunch? And my mom was exactly the same today. She's like, "What does your day look like?" And I was like, "Well, I have a couple of clients starting at 3 o'clock, so I have this gap that I'm going to be doing, and what will bring me joy is like I'm doing a my Theosophical Society Theosophical diploma. So I'm like, oh, I need to get that done. But just in absorbing all this knowledge, I'm like, this is great. I love this, kind of a thing. So I'm loving the flexibility of being able to follow that joy and really asking what would bring the most amount of joy first thing this morning, or looking at is what are one or two things that I need to do today that will bring joy, or that will bring in things into alignment as well. And it's quite, I found it that when we do what we love and we've already got that thread of workaholic in there, it's it's finding that balance, because life is fun all the time. So it's like, where do I bring in that balance? Like, you mean family of four? I'm family of four as well, because I look after my mom too. So it's like, where do I bring in that balance into being present,
Yeah.
and also being the head of the family now as well? It's like, okay, how am I going to make this financial and it's that letting go of control and breathing in trust, in
Mm.
going with the flow as well. And I've started seeing it's also about changing the perspective, because I think we're so trained to see what we don't have, we don't have a look at what we do have. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're already doing well. You're already doing this. We're already living that life. How can I live deeper into that life that I'm wanting to create,
Yeah.
which is quite important. And yeah, it does bring in that, yeah, that physical fear of like waking up sometimes of like, oh, what am I going to do? I've shifted that, and it's kind of like there's a surrendering, and that was very different in corporate,
Yeah.
because if we wanted something to happen, we need to force it to happen. It's like we
Mm.
have to work out those steps. Whereas here, it's kind of like, okay, how do I get here? What are the loose steps to get there? And responding in a way that life throws us. Like, never in a million years did I think I'd be on a podcast with you, Jon. I'm happy to be here, but how that was birthed is just saying yes to those synchronicities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's true. Um, I oh, there's so many things I want to touch on. Yeah, the first thing was like in those moments when you step into your business, and it's like when you go into anything new, what joy seems to teach your body in particular is that it feels really good, and your body's
Mhm.
like, I don't care if I'm skateboarding for 10 hours a day, I just love it, right? And your body's like, Jon, you're gonna get a six pack for free. You don't even like need to worry about it, right? We're just
Yeah.
gonna be, you're gonna be in tip top condition and we're gonna love it. And then the opposite's true, right? When you feel that fear about something that you want to step into, and your body's like, are you just gonna throw me to the wolves again? Like, we've been there many times, in fact, about 10
Yeah.
companies for me. And what what I also found was that I needed like strong boundaries, even stronger boundaries,
Mhm.
and then I
Yeah.
needed to see what those boundaries are for me. Like, what are the client behaviors? What are my behaviors that exist outside
Mm,
of my boundaries? And then inside saying, you know what? When I put these boundaries up, my heart feels safe. And and therefore I'm like this little transportable
mhm,
golden bubble of light that you can push into anything that feels like it may bring me joy. And I will feel so safe that when it's not working, I'll just come out of it or
mhm.
I'll go and do something else because I found something else more joyous. And that my heart isn't left like exposed to the wolves scratching away at it, like eating my heart. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is terrible. This is not what I wanted. Um, and the other big lesson, and I feel this is like somewhere in in this whole kind of theme of manifestation, and it's funny because a lot of manifestation is traditional manifestation is taught along the lines of quite similar to pushing, almost like you must have like this,
Hmm.
create this dream, and then here's the steps to do it, and then
Yeah.
make sure that you allow yourself to do these things. What was lost on me to begin with, remember we talked about being seen. Being
Hmm.
seen is also like, what if you were really successful? What if
Yeah.
you where and whatever your success feels like to you, because it's a feeling, right? Is it that suddenly the whole world would see you? Like, if you're on social media, would it be thousands and thousands of followers or millions of followers?
Hmm.
If you were in a specific industry, would you be at industry award ceremonies as a judge? Would you be speaking at conferences? If you're in the local community, would you be seen as a leader? Like, there and are
Hmm.
you fearful of any of these things? Because if you are, and there's joy on that journey, you're going to have to face those fears. And one
Hmm.
one big thing I found was one of them was being seen. And I must admit, this podcast has been so helpful for me because it it's just so much fun, and
Yes.
I always feel buzzing afterwards and during. And I now when I go on podcasts, this like it's like a kind of heart muscle memory. It's just like it just feels really natural.
Hmm.
And I realized then, like, my sales kept on going up every
Hmm.
month, like June, July, August, September, and they were like either increasing or doubling each month. And bearing in mind they started small, but it's like
Hmm.
this felt really good. And then October came and they dropped by 40%, and I was like,
Okay.
oh, this is new. And I was thinking, what would have happened in my corporate world? I remember
Hmm.
exactly what would have happened. My manager, maybe their manager's manager would be like, "Hey, John, let's have a chat about you and your team." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, why? Why are we chatting?" And it says, "Let's talk about your numbers." Like, what numbers?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love the fact that actually, you know, when your customers aren't buying as many things, you don't need to feel guilty. You just don't get as much money, and that's
Yeah.
okay, right? Because you also get more time. And
Absolutely.
I was asking my guides, and I was like meditating. It's like, there's a lesson in October. What's the lesson? And the message I was getting was like, prepare yourself. Something's coming, and I knew what was coming. Even it was in my calendar, but I didn't quite see the energetic size and scale
Hmm.
of it. And still, as of 4th of December, I'm not sure that I fully see all my future ahead of me. Um,
Yeah.
But I realized, and getting to the crux of it, is that I had a scaling problem. That my problem,
Mm.
it was about scaling myself, about scaling my business, not in a way to make necessarily to make lots of money, but to service a demand I was almost completely
Mm.
unaware of. I thought I was
Yeah.
like, just going to be John that would do maybe a handful of sessions a week,
Hmm.
and I do some training, and that would be fine. And maybe there's some months that I had to figure out some other revenue streams. No. It's like, John, people really want to book your one-to-one services,
Hmm.
and as of now it's out from, over to mid-May, ever since I went on a big podcast, and I realized
Hmm.
suddenly I had to go from being in exploration mode to like, people are demanding this one thing from you. And it was also
Hmm.
quite shocking to me that they wanted a very specific service. Okay, it's my
Okay.
most popular service, but it was like, um I offer a lot more that's similar and is either free, or it's a recorded version, or there's an app for
Hmm.
it. It's so me, right? It's like everything for it. There's a song and all these, there's a podcast and a vlog. Um,
Hmm.
and what I realized was that, oh, okay, if I'm going to keep scaling, because I'm not in it to make necessarily just tons and tons of money,
Hmm.
or in particular to work myself so hard that that's what it would create.
Hmm.
More that I want to scale all the other aspects, and I started shifting my focus to things like, um, as well as lots of one-to-one sessions with people. I started creating like a recorded version of my most popular session and charging much less money, but I can,
Hmm.
just roll that out to people.
Yeah.
And my free meditations went from, just a handful of people up to 210 who are currently active
Nice.
right now. And it's like, yes. And they
Well
send me little
done.
messages every day saying,
Hmm.
enjoying the meditation. And then that I did 3 or 4 1 hour recorded versions of my sessions. Um, I think that, yeah, the first one sold into like the 20 plus. And it's like, that was just mind blowing to me that I could see it would be helpful,
Hmm.
but it was something very new for me. And I constantly feel like, yes, I have a wait list now, and just, yesterday someone canceled, and then someone from the wait list picked it up in 14 minutes. And it's like my mind was
Mm,
just like, "Poof."
beautiful.
I was like, I can't quite cope with the now mentally. My mental models
Hmm.
need to adapt. It's like I need to
Yeah.
open up and stop feeling so constrained, because if it just keeps continuing to expand, how would I, for instance, share? There's clearly demand for my services. There's
Hmm.
people like you and many others that do not dissimilar work. How do I
Yeah.
also like guide them to the people that can help them the most? So yeah, this reality is so different. Like these circumstances seem so different to what I would have expected. I would have expected by now to have been sat down with my wife each month going, with me trying to convince her I was earning enough money, convince myself I was earning enough money. Not a problem of like, oh, you're succeeding. How
Hmm.
comfortable are you with being seen? How
Hmm.
how ready are you to help lead in this space? And you don't need to like take all the energy and the money yourself, like to be able to like find new ways of being new paradigms and be able to
Hmm.
share and bring more of a community to help the community of customers that need your services.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And you're absolutely right, because the fear of success and the fear of failure are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
And it's looking at that because it's like, oh my goodness, what happens if I do succeed in this? Which is quite an incredible. And yeah, I agree with, like, it's absolutely stunning, the synchronicities that start to show up when we're ready for it. And
mm,
I love that you're growing into it. It's like moving into a bigger house. You grow into
yeah,
that house and become quite comfortable within that, which is absolutely beautiful in that sense. And the synchronicities that show up in taking one step into another is quite important. And so, for example, it's almost kind of like being guided and falling into the next service, falling into the next thing that is needed. I very much realized, kind of like, especially during COVID, when most people, my business got so busy. I was still seeing so many people, and that's when
mm,
people needed guidance the most.
yeah,
And what I'm working on at the moment is shifting a little bit deeper in the sense of releasing that attachment to, I mean, we need money and to survive and to put the lights on and to create an amazing future. I have two children as well that I need to put through university or college. And so it's providing that aspect of it, but knowing and trusting in a sense that the universe has got your back.
yeah,
And it's, I'm really stepping into releasing the likes, releasing the numbers, and really stepping into that of service a little bit further into that. And it reminds me, because when I first started doing Reiki and offering Reiki sessions and teaching Reiki, I used to volunteer at one of the cancer houses, like to support. It was a volunteer group that was supporting people that were going through cancer, and they offered Reiki, healing touch, and another therapy to people that were going through cancer and their carers. And it was so interesting because a lot about the session, I'd sometimes go into that fear of like, am I doing this properly? Am I not? And it's like, And I know because that energy kind of like would affect that thought
Yeah.
process. And I started kind of like running this mantra in my mind, going, it's not about me. It's not about me. You're being of service. It's not about me. And it's quite interesting that that has now popped up for me a little bit later now, going, it's not about me. It's about being of service.
Hmm.
And it's amazing how the synchronicities start to show up within our world because we get pulled, and it's like we're no longer pushing ourselves into things. Although I do push myself into things in the sense that if I want to get them done, I will create that which makes me fearful, that I know that I need to do it. So it's like
Yeah.
feel the fear and do it anyway,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So public speaking is one of them. And so I will schedule in things that I need and then work into them. So move through into that fear, and then I walk out of there, and then I'm like, "That was great. We had such an amazing conversation." So it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and it's like pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone and getting
Mm.
used to being that uncomfortable aspect where you're forced to grow into to something else. So a lot of the times, my guides are like, "Get used to being uncomfortable." Because the more comfortable we are, the close. So I love that your wife is like, get out there, Jon, get out in front of
Yeah.
people. It's your
Do it.
energy. It's like, you need to just do it. So that's amazing that she did that. So it's that used to being, you know, having joy in that uncomfortable and stepping into that fear that we know is just on the other side. And it's quite interesting because I did a talk on fear very recently to one of my corporate clients. And it's so funny because fear is the most um like the heightened when you get the closer you get to releasing a limitation, it amps up the fear. So if you're feeling like super fearful, it's just, like keep going because you're almost through that. It's like
Yeah.
it's really stepping into that next phase, and it's amazing the synchronicities that show up. So for example, like my guides were like, you need to start doing Akashic messages online. And I'm like, nope, not doing it. It's scary. Oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, no, I'm not doing it. It was like, I'll do it. It's scary. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And
Just
then
how it felt.
exactly. And then Jon is like, hey, you want to join me? And I was like, yes. And I was like, ah, okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So it's great. And it's kind of like, so it's amazing how things show up for you and the people show up for us in our lives to collaborate, the right people, the clients. It's everybody, it's when they are ready and it's when we're ready. It's when we lose our that those limitations and we step into that space of expansion, the world expands with us.
Yeah. Yeah. And well done. I love your live streams. Like and to watch you, it's stunning to even to get a glimpse of this insight that you felt fearful doing it
Yeah.
when you started. One like I guess it's a mental model for me or a belief system is that I felt that and I realized that if I take on a big challenge, it's okay that the Jon right now, the version of me today, is uncomfortable and maybe has no
Mhm.
idea how to do it. But if it feels joyous, it feels like it's going to be quite a lot of fun building, like, you know, facing some fears and doing some things and learning some things and creating the version of
Mhm.
me that can do it. And it's like you surrender to that. You're just like,
Mm.
I surrender to the fact that whenever I take on a new challenge, I can train myself to become that version.
Yeah.
And even if I turn up, what's the worst going to happen if I haven't done anything at all? I'm just going to feel
Mhm.
really scared, and then I'm going to do it, and it might be good fun and let's just see what
Yeah.
happens because it feels right. And yeah, it's such a funny thing because I never would have, never would have thought that in my previous career. I would have just thought, no, that's for someone else to do. And especially when they've got a different job title. They like design
Mhm.
stuff, and I'm like, I've never done so much website design or marketing design in my life, and I enjoy quite a lot of it. Um,
Mhm.
just not when I get too hyper productive and hyper fixated on. There's no one coming to next week's like wrong mentality, Jon. They're coming.
Yeah.
Just make sure that your adverts aren't like overly needy. Like please come.
Yeah.
I need to eat, or I need dinner on the following day to please buy my
Yeah.
tickets. Like that desperation that you inject
Mhm.
into your work like and the fear in it isn't helpful for you or for anyone, but the excitement of it
No.
is like I have an event on Tuesday and it's like just saying to myself, actually I don't really care. I know one person's already signed
Mhm.
up. Literally I'd love to just be with them And whilst I'll advertise it, I don't need to keep pushing all the time. It's just like
Yeah.
they will be guided, they will find it, they will come.
Yeah, I think that also showed up for us when we did that last in-person event where we had half the amount of people that we normally do. And what a
Mm.
magical group that did come together for that was
Yeah.
exactly for that group. So there's an element of trust and it's I think it's Deepak Chopra says it's not enough to just think positive. We need to like action positive as well.
Mhm.
So there's for us is learning that game of kind of like when do I action, when do I wait, when do I respond? So I think it's that very much a moving in from being reactive to being responsive to what is showing up for us as well, which is quite interesting too in that sense. Because like I too had a client on Monday who was like, hey, can I reschedule? And she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm doing it last minute. I'm like, no, you've just given me an hour. I can do so much other stuff. That's like, don't ever worry because everything happens in divine timing,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's when it needs to be at will, which is incredible. And I've met so many people that have encouraged me along the way and have supported and I've collaborated with that I am so grateful for you being one of them, especially over here, which is
Likewise.
why
Thank you.
which was so scary when I got here. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to see what the market is like. That's why I connected into you. It's like, Jon, how's it going over here? What is the psychic temperature on the side? How
Yeah.
do these things work? Kind of a thing. And it's very, very interesting. When I first started out, having that marketing mind, and I just done my Reiki and my craniosacral therapy, and I was like, oh, let me do some market research to see about the credibility of being a Reiki person, like looking at working and kind of like renting a space in like massage therapy places or whatever it may be. And I ran into a couple of people that I was like, which I did a little bit of research, and it was so interesting because what had come out of that research is people that believed in alternative medicine believed in all the alternative medicine, but people that didn't believe in alternative medicine didn't even believe in chiropractic. And I'm like, but that's a real doctor. I was like, or an osteopath. I'm like, but
Yeah.
what? How does that make
Don't believe in
sense?
doctors.
Don't believe in doctors at all. But it was just like it had to be either complete one way or another. And it's beautiful to see how things are changing slightly when one works with the other and is starting to
Yeah.
build credibility between the two. But it was all that research. And that's why when I got here, I was like, oh, I want to see what is the temperature like
Mm.
um, over here and joining a few groups and getting out there as well, just to see what things were like. So I'm very grateful for you to supporting me on my journey in restarting over here as well, which is
And
wonderful.
likewise. And likewise, and like I've said to you before, whenever I'm scared of something, I just bring in Natasha. It's like I'm terrified. I have to meet people and talk to them and do a whole lot of psychic work. And it's like here and here's Natasha sat next to me, and like, you're always there.
Yeah,
And
no,
you're
I
kind of
love
like
it.
you're like I'm scared too, but we're both smiling and we're enjoying it. And it's like whatever. Let's just see what happens.
Let's just see
Um,
what happens. Exactly. No, that's
and and
wonderful.
And speaking of fear, before we go into mindfulness meditation, I have a question for you, and I'll
Hmm.
have to answer it myself as well. I'll have to think about
Yeah.
it and answer it myself. And that question is, what are you scared of the most now? Um, or you can also use a limiting belief um,
Yeah.
for your future, like over the next few years in your life and in your business.
That's a very good question. So I now mix fear and excitement in my body because it's
Yeah.
like because it feels the same. Your heart races, your palms get a little bit sweaty, and it's just that, oh my goodness, it's like so I just convinced myself that my fear is my excitement. Um, so I've had a lot of people that I work with and seers that are kind of like something big is coming for you, Natasha. And and it's kind of like, okay, what am I stepping into? What am I preparing for? And it feels like there's a wave that's kind of like the wave when it starts to kind of like gather before
Yeah.
it comes out, that as we breathe, before we hold our breath, before we exhale, I'm in that phase at the moment. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like it's a little bit scary and it's very curious to see how that expands. And it's wonderful to see that you've done that jump as well and to see how you're going through that too. So I get glimpses of the highest perspective of me and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do to make that happen? But I do that by becoming very, very present and doing that inner work. But it's that Yeah, that expansion, and it's that being good enough. That's I'm still working through that, being good enough to step into those shoes of supporting on a bigger scale.
Fabulous. I feel it.
But
I feel it's coming. It's like you're just again breathing in gently, and it's like release.
enjoy the
This is so
ride.
much fun. Um, yeah, for me, um, I think my internet glitched a little bit. But yeah, for me to answer that question, I thought I was probably the most scared of just being seen more globally, and I
Hmm.
universally, like just being seen as someone, of any credibility leading in their space. And now I'm feeling the inevitability of that and
Hmm.
just becoming comfortable. Like one of my customers said this just after my last wave of bookings, of 5 months of bookings. Um, they said to me, they some of our customers are psychics, right? Or many of them are,
Yeah. Oh yeah, many of them are.
and everyone is in the world. They're just practicing.
Mhm.
And a couple said to me, I knew this was coming. That's why I booked you before you even recorded that big show. And I was like, oh,
Beautiful.
that's good. Thank you. Well done. You got it right. And then the next thing is they both said, never change. Like,
Mm.
never stop being you, being authentically you. That's
Yeah.
what's the most appealing about you, Jon. And I'm like, oh wow, it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge for anyone to be, if you are going to be globally seen, how do you keep being yourself? And when I truly think about it, like my semi and retirement plans and traveling Europe and the rest of the world
Hmm.
and a camper van with my wife and doing this work on the go as well, I realize that deep down on my subconscious, there's some parts of me that's worried that that would be jeopardized by
Hmm.
some, not so much the fame side, but like, well, what if people, there's
Yeah.
just a huge demand and it's like pulling away from, hey, Jon, you need to help the world. It's like, well, Jon needs to also live.
Be John.
You have to be
Yeah.
Jon, and I don't ever lose Jon in this journey. I've lost enough of him during during my software engineering career, and I feel now that I see it, it feels much easier. It feels like, okay, I can start to think about the boundaries for that for myself. Like there's some
Hmm.
shows and talks and subjects of work that I just wouldn't go into because that's
Hmm.
a non-negotiable boundary for me. And then, but the limitations, I free myself of the limitations. Are you listening, universe? I
Yeah.
free
Freedom of
myself of the
limitations.
limitations of the fear that hold me back from achieving the very
Hmm.
things I want to do in service to others, to help others, and to always explore the joy in knowing that these joyous things will magically appear whenever that fear is just kind of pushed out the way. But it's like, I see you, I understand you, we're going to deal
Hmm.
with you, and the way we're going to deal with you is we're going to find joy in that exact space. We're going to walk through that together, and
Hmm.
I'll still be holding the hand of fear on the other side of the door of fear, going, I told you it wasn't that scary. It's actually far more
Yeah.
fun than you realize.
Absolutely. And you can also even kind of like replace the word fear with the ego, because a lot of the times we talk
Mm,
about the ego, and that is really the ego trying to keep us safe. So it's a lot of the times people are like, no, you've got to suppress the ego. And it's like, no, it's like, let me hold your hand. Join me on this journey. We're going to be okay through this, and move through that. So yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And but it's like one of those, it's actually reminding me. I had this pushing my boundaries, a different set of boundaries in that sense. And I remember I went through this phase because, yeah, I realized that I had created so much safety around me that I didn't want to expand and push my boundaries. And I remember telling one of my friends, and we ended up going down to Montana, and we were one of these like theme parks, water theme parks. And I remember we both sitting at the top of this slide that just went down like this.
yeah.
And we were both sitting at the top there going, you go first. And I'm like, no, you go first. No, you go first. She goes, you push your boundaries. I'm like, no, you push your boundaries. And then we both had to end up going anyway. We were quite competitive. But it is that expansion. And it's that letting go, and what joy this ride has been and continues to be. And I think it's just having that trust in a greater thing and yeah, really responding and being agile to what is being presented.
Absolutely. And one thing I found myself doing as well is the bigger my business becomes, and for lack of
Hmm.
better words, more famous I become, and I'm not pretending that 6,000 almost 6,000 followers on YouTube is like a global domination yet, but it's just like knowing
Yet.
that yet, but on that
Yeah.
journey, I've already set plans next year to slow. And
Mm.
it's so funny, right? Because when I look at myself and I see myself scaling my work, it's actually doing less work. It's
Yeah.
doing and maybe not even charging more, right? It's just like
Hmm.
saying, oh, from about um, April, May next year, I'll be going from 3 or 4 sessions a day to one a day.
Hmm.
And it'll give me space to either not work, surprise, John, or to be creating. And I feel like
Hmm.
when I feel into, the work I do being more popular, I see that it's less time.
Hmm.
It'll create a better version of me and I'll have more fun when I'm less obsessed, less out of my hyper productivity and more in my relaxed, happy John smiling on a
Yeah.
podcast maybe once a day. Maybe
Yeah.
there'll be a day for different things. And that fills me with a lot of excitement and joy. And I think really that's the dream I always wanted. It's not everyone's dream, but it
No.
feels truly scalable for me, especially the space in between the bigger parts of work.
And that makes so much sense because the more space you hold for more people, the more grounded and more self-care you need in order to be able to hold that space
Yeah.
energetically. So it would make sense that one would need to kind of like scale down to be able to really expand oneself to hold that energy, which is quite incredible. So that makes a lot of sense logically to me anyway. But going back to that authentic self, something came up for me that I forgot to say. It's important to completely be um that you always like, and you are you on the camera and off the camera always, which is amazing. um and I have had that lesson in catching up where sometimes there is that pressure to step into the perspective or the perception that we think other people have of who we are, and that
Yeah.
creates a lot of pressure. And like I found that once where it's kind of like my students are expecting this kind of like, and I was like, that's just not me. And that pressure kind of like actually stifled a lot of my, because it wasn't being authentically me. But so I learned
Mm.
that lesson from that perspective. So I love that advice that your clients gave you because it's absolutely utmost importance. Be more
Yeah.
John.
And we people, John,
Yeah.
that's your advice for anyone in the world.
Be
Um,
more yourself.
but, yeah, but when we chatted with Leah Solmaz last week,
Hmm.
one thing my clients also said is like do the things that you find a great way of expressing yourself that 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 are very grounded for you. And
Hmm.
they I keep getting these comments when so they're encourage my clients encourage me to do these videos when I'm driving my van, and I'm literally just driving, not looking at like the camera, which is probably like a big help,
Yeah.
not just for the driving, but also for my authenticity.
Yeah, the people on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just in flow, just like I don't even
Mhm.
know what I'm saying. When I look back at the video, like the one I did two yesterday, driving to the wellness center and then driving back. And it's
Mhm.
like I'm not even sure what I was talking about. It I really enjoyed it. And the comments I got was, I just really love your driving videos. And it's like I love that. It's so simple, right? Um,
Yeah.
and when you're scared and like those things like you're sharing, Natasha, very vulnerably about the times that you're scared in your work, and or you see patterns that you don't necessarily resonate with in your life, and you want to like help evolve that. Like you want to help
Hmm.
evolve, you know, be able to say, "Oh, I don't know," or
Yeah.
"Oh, I haven't learned that yet," or "That's not something I really know
Hmm.
about." I'll reflect on whether I'll do that or not. Like those aspects of us having a vehicle, like a regular practice, like whether it's a blog
Hmm.
or a video or a a LinkedIn post or something where you're just saying, oh, and it's like you're diarizing out to both yourself and your customers saying, yeah, There's fear and confusion and excitement and joy all in this work. And
Yeah.
I want you to see all those aspects of me, and it helps me remain grounded because
Hmm.
when not just literally I stood on the grass this morning recording my highest John video
I love those.
for 2 minutes in the in icy grass with bare feet, and I was
Hmm.
like, it's so cold. And I didn't even mention it, but I just think it's really funny when we share these very human things because that's what people really love, right? They just love
Mm.
humans being humans, not like, hi, I'm pretend human. Here's one dimension of my 10-dimensional life. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and even the highest John videos, I have done a few where I'm rolling around in the grass and stuff like that, and sometimes you just forget to have fun in the moment. But it all brings me such joy, and I'll just keep doing it as long as it does.
Yes.
Um, well, well, thank you for answering the difficult questions. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
journey,
you.
Natasha.
Thank you for sharing the journey as well. Thank you for
And
inspiring me.
oh, likewise. Thank you for proving that it is possible to still be alive after living in a corporate world for so long, and that there's a whole brave new world out there, and that there's people that you can
Hmm.
meet and collaborate with, and
Yeah.
you don't even need to pay them, right? You can be like work friends. You can like
Absolutely.
you can build communities. I have clients to do things for me, and I'm like, I feel so humbled and grateful. I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for you. It's all possible. So with that, we shall do a short mindful
But
meditation.
yes, please.
So, if you'd like to join me, we shall begin by taking 3 deep breaths in through the nose, nice and deep, and breathe out nice and loud. Breathe in through the nose, nice and deep, and breathe out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. Breathe in through the nose, nice and deep, and breathe out any remaining low vibration energy or emotion that no longer serves your highest good, nice and loud. And continue to breathe deeply and calmly as it feels right for you. I'd like you to join me in bringing attention to your whole body. And to do so, just imagine from the center of your heart, surrounding your whole body in a big sphere, a golden sphere of light, with this light from your heart expanding out as this sphere around you, allowing your heart to create a safe space that every part of you, physically and energetically, can exist safely within. And I'd like you to just take a little look at the boundary you've created. And perhaps you'd like to refine it in this moment. Think of 3 emotions that you'd like to keep outside of your boundary. You get to choose what they feel like. Are they fear? Are they self-doubt? Are they shame? Are they anxiety? Whatever these words are to these emotions that best describe the feeling for you, place the top 3 outside of your boundary. And then within your boundary that you've created, reflect on the top 3 emotions you'd like to keep within your boundary. Are they love, unconditional love, compassion, equality, your self love, your self care? You get to choose what those top 3 are. And bring your awareness to the difference in the feeling, the frequency of the outside of your bubble and the inside of your bubble boundary. You may see this and feel this as colors, as words, as sounds, perhaps even people and places on the outside and people and places on the inside. You get to choose. And as you see the difference between the two, know that you, in your heart, have your own unique decisions to make about what your boundaries are. And know that for everyone that encounters those boundaries and are rejected by them because you enforce your boundaries, whilst it might not be very pleasant and sometimes a bit shocking for them, know that it is your free will and your unique choice, a celebration of your free will to define your boundaries. And yes, do pay attention to those who you reject, to the feelings that you reject in your boundaries. But know that over time, you will continue to reflect on improving and optimizing these for your highest good. And now see yourself at the start of a path. And on this path ahead of you, it's a path that presents much joy. In fact, it's the highest joy in your life right ahead of you. It can be a road, a dirt track. You could be climbing a mountain. You could be swimming across an ocean. Whatever this visual helps you the most, allow yourself to see it and feel it. And along that journey, there are many waves and many roller coaster rides. There are many peaks and highs and many lows. And as you envisage yourself traveling down this path, following your highest joy, see that you're always going to maintain your boundaries. Perhaps you'd like to make a promise now to your heart and say, heart, body, I love you no matter what. And I will always withhold and maintain these strong boundaries to protect my heart, to protect my body, and to allow myself to remain open hearted safely. And as you look now across this path ahead of you, and you begin to see the joyous things, perhaps some of the things you did as when you were a child, perhaps some of them are aspects of your future dream life, dream relationships, dream job, dream business, whatever you get to choose. Know that you'll always be safe because you're going to keep yourself safe. And yet the feeling of safety becomes ever expansive, almost like your boundaries just become bigger and bigger, and that you're allowing in more and more into your heart because it always feels right for you. You're always following that path of joy. And each day you're allowing your heart to open and open more and more to receive the love and gratitude from others that you choose to serve, whether it's yourself, your partner, your loved ones, or whether it's the whole world. Allow your heart to soften and open and to receive this joy. And for those outside of your boundaries, know that you will still inspire them by setting clear boundaries. You will still inspire them by following your joy. Know that every human on this planet still loves. They still have loved ones, and they are still inspired by those that follow their dreams and follow their joy. No matter what their actions are, whatever they say or do, know that this is true. You can hold this expansive, joyous feeling in your heart. Know that each day is an opportunity to explore something new and to allow these little thoughts, these little sparkles that are presented to you through thoughts, feelings, signs, suggestions from others, perhaps even suggestions from customers. Allow yourself to continue to open up and to explore these and always be checking in with yourself to ask, is this following my highest joy? Is it really following my highest joy? Am I really unconstraining myself to allow myself to open up and to experience this ever increasing high vibration joy? Allow this, allow this. And when you're ready, please Do whatever you wish with your boundaries. You may continue to maintain them and refine them, or reflect on whether this practice is of help for you. And the same with your joy. I highly recommend you follow your joy, but you get to choose. Allow these feelings to be held in your heart and just allow yourself to come back to your body, back to this moment where we started. And you can open your eyes and stretch if you wish.
Thank you for that. What a different frequency inside and outside the bubble. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it was so dark.
It was, but it was so funny because I had things like, fear, worry, doubt on the other side. But as it made its way through, like fear turned to excitement and worry turned into, trust. And these started to like shift the frequencies as they went from the outside in, is the visual that I got today, which was awesome. So
And just like
thank
the
you.
the just like the just like a prism on the Pink Floyd album where the light comes in and
Yeah.
is bent, is like transmuted.
Hmm.
I saw fear outside and then felt oh, people are scared of this too. Maybe I can help.
Yeah.
Um and that felt very different. I know
Hmm.
many of us feel disempowered around the world at this time, and
Yeah.
know that it just takes one heart, and that's your heart, to change, to make a difference. And it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely, it does.
Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much, Natasha. It's been
Thank you, John.
incredible, as always, as every time. And yeah, if you're interested in coming along and joining us, we're always hunting for the right guests that just generally resonate with. If you enjoy an episode, that's a great start.
Yes.
And we love chatting with people from all across different industries and different walks of life. So if you're interested, please check out the description in the podcast and or video, however you're consuming us at this time. And
I love that.
we look forward to seeing you again. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, so looking forward to that. And take care, everyone. Sending so much
Bye,
love. Thank
everybody.
you.